Hello! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mildly Gothic. If you're new here, what I like to do is a variety of artsy stuff with a little bit of a dark twist. And today we're doing another special effects makeup. So I have these, which we're gonna see how this goes. These are from a wreath video I made back in December. I just didn't end up using them. But I thought they were kind of cool, and in some sort of spirit of Valentine's Day, which I know has yet to come at this point in time, but will have passed by the time this video goes up. They are sticking to everything. But kind of a love-inspired theme because they are red, so I'm going to be attempting to turn these into some horns, maybe a little gory, kind of coming in and out of my face. We're gonna see. I'm not entirely sure how it's gonna go, but I'm looking forward to it. Here's to hopefully being a little bit better as far as filming this whole thing. So if that sounds interesting to you, you might as well hit the subscribe button and or like the video. I got a lot of cool stuff coming up. I post about every other week, and every other video of those every other weeks will be a special effects makeup. So that's why we're doing one today. So I'm super excited for how this one turns out, and yes, for once I'm filming the intro beforehand. Whether that's a good thing or not has yet to be seen, but we'll figure it out. Regardless, thank you for sticking around so far, and I hope you enjoy. So, I got my red tendrils that are sticking to everything. Scar wax, liquid latex. Thinking we're probably going for a slightly more gory than normal sort of a thing, even though, I mean, what's too gory at the frostbite thing, you know? Anyways, let's get started. So, first things first is actually figuring out what I even wanted the shape to look like, because I initially definitely thought I was going to go for very traditional looking horns that had a wider base and came up to a point, and so I grouped them into these groups of 3 and tried to twist them together. I applied a base of liquid latex to the outside of my temple like usual, and I omitted all of the molding of the scar wax in getting it soft, but I created small balls of scar wax relatively close to the size of the base that I needed and pressed them into the red tendrils first before applying that to my forehead. It made it a lot easier to not have to worry about sticking the multiple pieces, and I did stick the scar wax and the red things together with more liquid latex. I spent a good amount of time blending the edges because I wanted it to try to be as seamless as possible while also being careful to avoid my eyebrow and my hairline. So the next part was figuring out where I wanted all of the other tendril bits to come from, because I very much wanted it to look like it was coming in and out of my skin and coming from within. So I decided I wanted to do something on my chest with my collarbone, and I applied this in the same way, a base of liquid latex, and then forming small balls of scar wax to put on the end and any other bridged parts in the middle. This was interesting. I had no real plan. I just knew I wanted enough pieces to make it really look like there was something from inside that was bursting out. I think that was pretty successful, but overall the base process for applying this is a base of liquid latex, applying latex to the red tendril to get it to stick to the scar wax, and applying more latex to make sure you have tacky latex to tacky latex between the scar wax and the surface, and then blending out your edges until they are as smooth as they can. And I use micellar water on my sculpting tools and my fingers to stop the scar wax from sticking to it as much and to help me blend all of those edges together. Something I did not take enough care of when I was doing the piece on the side of my face was how I was holding my head to apply it versus how I would actually be holding my head at the end. The angle at which I was holding my head made it very easy for the back bit kind of under my ear to stay when I was tilting my head, but as soon as I put my head forward again, it was causing a lot of pressure. Luckily, there was a wire inside the red tendril. I really don't know what to call those. So I was able to kind of bend it, and I just used a lot of liquid latex and patience to get it to stick in place. But that is something you always want to consider, is you don't want to apply something in a way where it is stretched or abnormal from the position where it is going to be at rest. You want it to be most stable in its rest position, not the applied position. Another thing, when it comes to applying these makeups to my own face, I tend to use quite a good bit of pressure when I am molding the scar wax, especially using the sculpting tools. This is something that makes me very hesitant to approaching doing special effects makeup on other people, is I know the pressure I am applying when it is my own face because I can feel it. I don't really know it when it is somebody else's face, which I'm sure is something you get better at with practice, and there's probably other techniques. But if you happen to think that I'm using a lot of pressure when I am applying this to my own face or neck, you are correct. Is it the correct practice? I am unsure, but it is what works for me because I am doing it on myself and therefore can control it and am not in fear or risk of hurting somebody else. So to catch back up with the makeup, I was unsure if I wanted to do the piece on my neck at first. I wasn't sure if it was going to be too much, so I decided to quickly base out all of the scar wax pieces in foundation, and I decided that I did indeed want that final neck piece. So as far as painting this goes, it was actually quite simple. I used foundation as my base layer, and I used 2 colors from my bruise wheel. I used the bright red, and I also used the darker brown, kind of stippling over the scar wax pieces and off onto the edges and surface of my skin. And then I went back and stippled foundation on top of specifically the scar wax because it does take the paint and the color differently. So my goal was to attempt to blend how the scar wax base was taking the paint and how my skin was taking the paint to make them look as if they were one and the same. The most important thing is painting is not a one layer and done. You do want to build it up, and so starting with just a little bit to kind of base out the general area where you want the paint and building the color up on top of it will give you a more gradated, like gradient kind of a look, and will also give you a more realistic look. Color is rarely, unless it is a high impact bruise, it is rarely very focused with very defined edges. So taking a calm and layered approach and figuring out really where you want the color focused and where it needs to be more spread out will help as far as making a more realistic final product. The finishing touch for this makeup was fake blood, and when I started to apply it to the insides of the protrusions, I realized that if they had come over the surface that there would also be some red or contusions underneath, which is why I applied some color under there. I used 2 different types of blood here. I used a stage blood or vampire blood, which is a lighter red. I used this as the first pass inside of the protrusions, and then also to stipple over the surface of my face, kind of around the protrusions, because blood does splatter. And the second type of blood I used is called Demon's Blood. It is a much darker, theoretically it's supposed to be a much more realistic blood, and I used this as the dripping blood because I wanted that more realistic oozing, except it dripped a little bit too far because it is very liquidy, and so I used a brush to kind of reorganize the drips to the appropriate length that I actually wanted for the final product. And once I went back and forth a little bit with the blood and the color, I ended up with a product that I was really, really happy with. I didn't want this makeup to be all blood and gore, so I decided to do just a nice eyeshadow and then a lipstick to go with it. I used 2 colors for my eyeshadow. I just used black around the corner, most of the lid, and tried to blend that upwards and then also down. I was very okay with a more sunken eye look for this. And then I also used a very bright gold shadow over the inner corner and then kind of blended that towards the mid. Going very simple, but hopefully glamorous and dark and spooky. I did a simple cat eye, nothing super dramatic on both sides, with the little mascara to finish off the eye, and then I went with the black lip because I thought it went with the look very well, going for a dark seductress who has been possessed by whatever on earth those red tendrils are. I still don't know what to call them. I know this video is a little bit shorter, but the process was pretty repetitive, so I figured I'd bore you with the repetition and just try to get through it and show you what I did.
Okay, here we are. I'm obsessed with this. I had no idea what this was gonna be before I got into this, and I think it's really freaking cool. It's gory, it's gothic. I was gonna put false lashes on, but I can't find them, and I think I got rid of them because I needed new ones, and I'm sad. So it's fine. I'm really happy with it. If you have made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. Again, you might as well hit the subscribe button, like button, comment. What do you think of the look? Anything I should have done different? Let me know in the comments down below. Feed the algorithm, engagement, all that sort of thing. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Again, I apologize for my bathroom audio. I don't have my microphone when I do this. I'm gonna go take some really cool pictures and I'll put them at the end screen. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.